Hey guys, just wanted to do a quick video on how to install some extended ARP studs into almost any vehicle. A couple things you're going to need are an impact gun to get your wheels off and also to get your brake caliper bracket off. This one's set up already to take the caliper bracket off. This one is set up to take my wheels off because it's got the key for my wheels. A flat blade screwdriver to open up the gap for the brake caliper, because when you first go to get it off, the pads are still going to be tight on the rotor, so it may need a little pry to open it up. A pair of cutting pliers for when you get done. You're also going to need some zip ties to zip tie up your brake caliper so it's not hanging. Pry bar, I'm using it to kind of help hold the stud a little bit in place while I tighten up the nut. Breaker bar in case you do not have air tools at your disposal. A dead blow hammer, a ball peen hammer. The dead blow, you can try to knock the studs out with the dead blow if you want to try to keep them. If not, you can try to use the ball peen, which should make it come out a lot easier. I also have some anti-seize for once I'm in there and everything's installed. I can put some anti-seize on the hub and on the studs. In my case, I am going to be using an air hammer to drive the studs out. It's just a little bit easier, so I'm not killing myself. And then obviously you're going to need your extended studs. The reason for me installing these extended studs are these spacers. The stock G35 studs are extremely short, and it's scary even putting this 5mm spacer on. So let's get to it. By the way guys, be smart about this. Use a jack stand. Don't just get under a vehicle without a jack stand. In my case, I have a lift. No one's home to help me line up the ramps that I have with the car, so I figured why not do it like someone would do it out in the street, just jack stands and a jack. Alright, time to take the wheel off. So here's some proof that stock studs are extremely short. Obviously this is one of the stock studs that I took out of the other side, and this is one of the extended ARP studs. As you can see on this wheel, the stud barely even makes it past the face of the wheel. It's enough with a stock style or a tuner style nut to grab, but the second you put a spacer on, it is way too short. Once you have the wheel off, one of the first things you're going to want to do is turn the wheel so that you can see the back side of the caliper and get to the caliper bracket bolts. So let's do that first. Now that we have the wheel turned, we can see the back side of the caliper, and we can remove the caliper bracket bolts. Wrong way, idiot. Almost forgot guys, another thing you're going to need is a open-end lug nut that fits your car, preferably a junk one or one that you picked up from the auto parts store, because it can get messed up on the end and you're not going to want to put that back on your wheel. And you're also going to want some washers. With the washers, you're going to stack them up on your new extended stud just to give a little bit of substance to hit with this nut that you're going to use to drive the stud into the hub. Otherwise, what's probably going to end up happening is the socket will bottom out on the top of your ARP extended stud if you don't have a couple washers in place to try to space this nut out before it hits something. So let's get to it. So while the compressor was running off camera, I got the other caliper bracket bolt out. So like I said, you're going to take your flat blade screwdriver, you're going to find one of the grooves or one of the vents in the rotor, and you're just going to pull towards you a little bit just to open up that caliper up on the rotor. As you can see, it's falling right off. Now is when you're going to take your zip ties, pull this off, and find a spot to hang up your caliper so it's not dangling by the hose, because that is not good for your brake hoses. Definitely don't want to do that. So, caliper's up out of the way. Take this off. This rotor's coming off a lot easier than the other side did. I did need the ball peen hammer just to hit the hat a little bit to get it unstuck from the hub. So, set that off to the side. And now, another thing you're going to use this nut for is just to protect these threads on your old studs in case you want to keep them. If you don't want to keep them, go for it. The other thing is you got to be careful. You can't peen the end of these over to the point where it won't go through the hole in the hub. So next, we'll grab the air hammer. Just hammer this thing out. Simple as that. One stud out. Should probably put my safety glasses on. Some cars, I don't know if they're going to be like Nissan is with their Infinities, and my 240 was the same way, but they actually have a spot that the stud can slide out of. Hopefully you guys can see that. Literally all you have to do is just rotate the hub until it's close to being lined up, and once you drive it out, it'll go right in that groove and it'll slide right out. So I will do the other 4 off camera and bring you guys back when I'm ready to do the new ones. So all the studs are out, got a new stud in. What you're gonna do is take your washers, stack them up, put the lug nut on. Some of these studs, because they're new, are a little tight on the lug nuts, so that's where the pry bar comes into play. You can use the pry bar against the hub to hold the stud. Sometimes even still it's too tight. So what you're going to do here is get the air gun, get a socket for said lug nut. This is going to be loud. You're going to find a point on the hub or the knuckle that you can pry against to try to hold the stud straight in its hole and hold it from spinning. And then you're going to gently tighten up the lug nut. Try to get it square. That's what ruins the end of this a little bit, is if the washer's a little bigger than the stud, sometimes the nut falls in the hole and then ends up making a burr on the end of the nut. So once you've got that snug and it's as centered as you can get it, you're going to hold pressure against the stud, because the stud has, I don't know if you guys can see that, but a little knurling on it, and there's going to be knurls in the hub already from your factory studs. So you kind of got to line those up and you don't want the stud to spin, because if the stud spins, it's either going to chew the knurling off of the hub or off of your brand new studs, and either way it's going to be useless. So once you have pressure on it, you're just going to slowly just tighten up that nut, and you'll see you got to go very slow, make sure the stud is going in straight. Otherwise, again, you can do some weird stuff to the hole. You can get kind of like a cross-threaded knurling, and then it makes the hole oval shaped, and then again, this hub is no good. You're going to have to go get a new hub. So, just gently once you see that the stud stops seating against, or should I say, once it seats against the hub, it stops going in, then you can stop tightening and loosen up the nut. This is exactly what I was talking about. From driving that in, that lug nut got stuck on this washer. So it's really messing up the seat of this nut. So that's why it's a good idea to go get one from a parts store that you don't need to drive the car with. You can have it set aside, especially for this purpose. So once you have one in, you're just going to repeat that on the next one. Get it lined up. Set your washers on. Thread the nut on. See, this one isn't as tight. So this one, I'm going to be able to hand tighten the nut all the way down until it hits the washers. Honestly, it's a little bit nicer because it's a lot easier, obviously, to make sure the stud's straight. You've got the knurls lined up. It's easier to get the washer centered on the nut. Then you just repeat what you did on the first one. So I'm going to finish the rest off camera, and I'll bring you guys back when they're all done, and you can see what it looks like with 5 extended ARP studs. Now that I have the 5 studs in, as you can see, they're all in. I'm going to take a little bit of copper anti-seize and just put some on the hub, stop brakes, the brake rotor from seizing to the hub. And then also, while I'm over here doing this, I can also put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads of my new extended studs. I would recommend it. You're already here. It can save you sometimes if you use it properly. Obviously, if you put one swipe on and there's almost no anti-seize, obviously that is not going to help you. Obviously you need a good amount, not too much, not too little. Did I get that one right? Yeah, a little bit more on that one. So, now that that's done, we can grab our brake rotor and throw that on. You got to be careful with this now, because you can mess up the threads on these studs if you just jam this rotor on with no care in the world. Because they're extended like this now, you kind of got to get this hat on completely parallel to the studs. So, just gently Slide that on. Put it up there. Use 2 lug nuts. 2 of your normal lug nuts. To hold the brake rotor on. Not too tight, don't go crazy. So that way, when you go to put your caliper and your pads back on, you're not fighting this rotor, because it's going to be dancing all around and falling off the hub and cocking itself sideways on these new studs. So it's just easier to take a couple seconds, grab 2 lug nuts, put them on. So now we can cut down the caliper and the bracket, and we can slide that on. Start 2 nuts, 2 bolts. So, off camera, I just threw the caliper bracket bolts in, and right now we're going to tighten them up. As you can see, I also took the lug nuts off because we don't need them anymore. So, we're just going to tighten this up. Don't do what I do. Find out the actual torque specs, don't just tighten it with an impact gun. It's probably really stupid of me, but that's how I'm gonna do it. So, that's on. Make sure you smash the powder coat on your wheels that you love. That's always good. So, now that's on. Those are tight. Just give everything a once over, make sure everything's on correctly. You didn't do anything stupid. I don't think I did anything stupid. Once you give that a check, you can slip on your spacer if you have one. In my case, I have one. Once that's on, you can grab your wheel. Hopefully not smash the end of the air hose into it again, like I just did. So hard to tighten it first, but it stopped doing what it was doing, so we're good now. And once you put the wheel on, and snugged it up, you can set it back down on the ground, and if you put spacers on, enjoy your new stance, or if you just put extended studs on, enjoy how much they stick out of the new lug nut, or your lug nuts, not your new lug nuts, but your lug nuts. And as you can see, now you can actually see the stud almost all the way at the end of my extended lug nuts. So there's a major difference. So I'm going to get this back down on the ground and torque the wheels back down. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.